So it looks as though reduced availability on some items that many of us use on a day-to-day basis is just part of the way things are now. And it looks like there's going to be some shortages on some food products that will continue into the fall of 2023. So here's a list of a few things that you may want to get into your pantry before autumn arrives. Like many of you, I have a deep pantry that is fully stocked with the things that we use on a regular basis. And I do also like to keep abreast of things that are happening around us. And although I'm not really a prepper in the doomsday or the apocalyptic sense, I do like to have my finger on the pulse of things that are happening so that I'm not paying any more than necessary for things, or if I can get ahead of a curve before prices increase, then I can actually have those things available in my stockpile so that they're ready to use when we need them. And with some of the research I've done, with some of the articles I've read, it looks like the fall of 2023 could look a lot like the fall of 2020 with some reduced availability of some items in the grocery store. The other important thing to note is that these are shortages. They're not outages. These items that I'm going to list will still likely be available. You may just need to go to a few different stores to get everything on your list. You may be paying a little bit more for them, or they may be available some weeks, not others. They may be available in some regions and not others. You may just have to look a little bit harder to find everything on your list. So here's what to look for on your next shopping trip. So the big one that everyone's talking about right now is rice. And what's happening there is India has put a ban on exports of all of their non-basmati rice. So that includes their medium grain and short grain rice. And India is a huge player in the rice market because they account for about 40% of the world's exports. And the reason they're putting a ban on the rice is they're trying to keep prices low for their own people. And of course, countries like Vietnam and Thailand are trying to pick up the slack, but it's unlikely that they'll be able to make up the difference. So that will mean reduced availability of rice on the shelves, and the prices are going to go up quite significantly. So if you are running low on rice, it's a good idea to pick some up and put it away in the pantry. Now, prices are supposed to stabilize and the supply is supposed to stabilize into next year. But in the meantime, just pick up what you might need for the next 6-8 months and put that away. The next thing is wheat and bread. Now, Russia and Ukraine account for about 25% of the global wheat supply, and the ongoing conflict there is having an effect on what we're seeing in North America in terms of prices, because we're paying between 8 and 17% more for wheat and wheat-based products than we were this time last year. And even though countries like Canada, where I live, we've upped our production and our exports, it's still not quite enough to make up the shortfall. So we're likely going to continue to see higher prices for this particular product. So one way to mitigate that is look for the biggest package of flour you can buy if you use that, and put that away in your pantry, because this way you'll be able to get the best price and by buying it in bulk. And if you can go in with a friend and maybe split a big bag of flour, that would be really great. That way it's available for you in the fall when you decide to do all of your baking, and you won't necessarily have to overpay for that particular item. Also, oranges is another thing that we could be seeing a shortage of in the fall. And this is because Florida, who's a major producer for oranges and supplies most of North America, their crop has been susceptible to a citrus greening disease. And also we're seeing the after effects of Hurricane Ian, which happened last September. And both of these things combined have affected their crops to a degree that they could see yields of less than half of what they were last year. Now, California has stepped up their game and they're trying to double their production. But even with California doubling their production, we'll still see probably yields of 25% less than last year. So expect to pay a little bit more for oranges and orange juice products. Or another thing you can do is maybe move to a different citrus fruit like grapefruit or lemons if you depend on those for vitamin C. or look at maybe some shelf-stable options of vitamin C like Ribena, which is a great drink mix that you can just mix with water, but it has a great source of vitamin C that's also shelf-stable. If you like to bake, you may want to consider adding sugar to your pantry as well. Now we're paying about 13% more for sugar this year than we did last year, and that's mostly due to inflation. But this year, many of the sugar producing nations like Brazil, Thailand, and Pakistan have experienced much lower yields. So the prices will remain high, and we're likely going to see reduced availability of it on the shelves later in the year. The best way around this is if you can get the biggest bag that you can afford. That will give you the best value for your money, the biggest bang for your buck. And if you can get as much as you think you will need for the next 6 months to a year even, that will give time for the supply to stabilize and for the availability of it to normalize. So you'll have it available when you need it. The last thing that we could see a shortage of this fall is mayonnaise. And the reason there could be a shortage on mayonnaise products is because of eggs. Eggs are a main ingredient in mayonnaise, and they've been increasingly expensive and harder to get because we're still feeling the effects of the avian flu that we had earlier this year. And Hellmann's actually just made an announcement saying that they made the decision to not offer Hellmann's mayonnaise in South Africa because they say that the demand for Hellmann's mayonnaise is low in that particular region, and the import cost to bring it into that area is just too high to warrant it. But the good news is that here in North America, it's cookout season right now. So you're likely to see sales on all kinds of condiments like ketchup, mustard, relish, and yes, mayonnaise as well. These are going to be some of the lowest prices that you'll see for condiments all year. So if you can nab a sale on some mayonnaise, grab a couple of extra jars and you'll have it going into the holiday season as well. Now, of course, again, these are shortages and not outages, so there's no need to panic buy. The idea is to put a few of these items away if you use them so that you can get them before the prices go up. Or if they're not available in the grocery store that week that you need them, you have them put away and they're available for you to use. So hopefully you'll get some use out of this list and some things to add to your next grocery trip. Take care, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next one.